Welcome to the sexy side of menopause.
Masako, I am so delighted to have you here with us today on the Sexy Side of Menopause. I have been such a girl fan of yours since we met in Paris. We were both invited to speak on the platform in Paris for International Women's Day, and there were so many women from around the world that were so impactful that they were sharing messages in different respects. And you and I were kind of in the same space. And when you started speaking about your platform, I'm like, oh my God, I got to have her on the Sexy Side of Menopause. So ladies, it took us a year for this to happen, but she is here. Welcome, Masako. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me. Hi everyone. My name is Masako Toyama, and I'm originally from Japan. I grew up in the States and Japan, so I have mixed cultural backgrounds, but I love to travel, and I love holistic wellness and talking about it, teaching about it, and that's how I met this wonderful Beverly. And I am an author of 2 books. One is a memoir called, if you can see, it's called Gathering Simple Bliss, The Path to Unshakable Self-Love. So I talk a lot about the journey to cultivate a self-love that is unshakable and unconditional, and create a life anchored in joy and peace. And I also have another book called, it's a children's book called Just Us Two. And this is one where I celebrate single mom households and creating magic and ordinary blessings in unique circumstances. And I'm also a certified high performance coach, so that is the main thing that I do. The main method that I use is called Kintsugi high performance. If I may speak a little on the Kintsugi philosophy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so Kintsugi, maybe some of you have heard of it. It is an ancient Japanese craftsmanship technique where I brought a tea bowl today to demonstrate. Yeah. This is like a matcha tea bowl. So basically, we use things for a very long time. We don't waste. So if there's a crack or if it gets broken along the way, no problem. You just piece them back together with lacquer and then apply gold dust on top of it to make the vessel even stronger, more beautiful, luxurious, and one of a kind, and make it truly into a masterpiece. And I believe that it can be applied into our lives. So that is what I mainly teach, and connecting that to high performance.
That is awesome. One of the things that you shared, I had heard, and interesting, this is another aspect of why I was drawn to you, is I actually lived in Japan for a couple of years, and I taught English to several different schools and to college students and business, there was some businessmen, and then there was like students that were younger, and then like mothers and their children. So I had a full scope of understanding a little bit about the Japanese culture and their interest in, the way we were conversating in English. And there was this understanding about how if you have a vessel that is broken and you apply this lacquer gold substance in between and bring it back together, it's more valuable and very unique, more so than the original structure was. And I was thinking, like, this is such an amazing way of seeing things, because here in the Western culture, we think of things being more valuable because they're not broken or they're not, with any type of substance on it. It's like we want it to be perfect. And that's just not the way life is. And if you understand that you can take your broken pieces and use life and add some lacquer or something in between to form something even more unique, then you have something that's invaluable, absolutely invaluable. So I did appreciate that about the Japanese culture. So one of the things I wanted to ask you, your children's book, is because you have a daughter yourself, right? Tell us a little bit about your daughter.
Yes, well, she is going on 9. She's a global citizen. She's been traveling with me for quite some time, and she's never known her dad. So I've been a single mom since she was born, and it's been such a magical and messy and beautiful journey. And I was approached to write a children's book, so this is what I thought about, and this is what I know. So I wanted to write from the perspective of the child, how she sees the world and how she navigates a unique path. And even if it's not single mom households, being different it can be a challenge in the beginning when you're the only person of a certain color in the classroom. In my neighborhood, it's all Japanese girls, so she's the only one with curly hair, which she was self-conscious about for some time. And standing out can feel wonderful, but it can also feel like a pressure. So how to navigate that and cultivating emotional language, and just going through what every kid goes through, and gently watching that and being there for the kid, as well as for the mom to heal themselves, because I don't believe in mom being martyrs, because the kid sees everything. So you being happy can be the best thing for your child's well-being. So I explore that in the book as well in the form of fiction.
Yeah, that is so amazing. And when we talk about the menopause journey, there is so much change that happens in a woman's life. And this journey in general starts around 40-ish. And I know you're in that window, even though you look like a teenager. You have a beauty secret you need to share with us. But as we're navigating this journey, life is happening, and being a single parent can be one of those things, but it's not something that you need to have overtake you. If you get in the right community, the right circle, have the right tools like your book to help you understand how you can navigate this, and you've been doing it internationally. So your daughter, I look at her future being so magnificent because she's in all of these spaces and you're traveling with her and she's seeing her mom be so powerful and on these different platforms speaking, or author, or having her own business. You're setting a wonderful example for her.
Thank you. And to talk about that Kintsugi philosophy for a minute, I never see things as broken. So when I teach in my sessions, I teach that there's nothing to repair, but everything to refine. I always focus on the gold because there's so much wisdom that you gain especially from difficult experiences. And sometimes in our culture, we over fixate and over analyze what went wrong as if these cracks are bad. But yeah. I see it. Cracks are just part of life. We all go through difficult things, and that makes us stronger. And how to apply the gold and how to own it fully and how to own your masterpiece, that's a brilliant piece. So yeah, and being a single parent is one of those cracks that it's just life and you make the most of it.
Right, right. And it's very unique how you have the perspective. You don't see things as broken. It's just the way you navigate it. I think that that's a beautiful reference for us to take in as women as we're navigating this menopause journey, because a lot of women, as they get to this menopausal phase, sometimes they're taking in the narrative that's out there in society, like, oh, when you get to be a certain age, you're not relevant, you're broken, you need to give way to the new generation because you're just outpacing, what your life is needing for you right now. Just sit down somewhere. And it's totally not true. So in your book, where you're bringing all of these different aspects to helping women on their journey in a much younger phase, I think that's a phenomenal space to start, because some of us who are in this journey of menopause, we didn't find out how to navigate this until we were much later in life. We didn't have our mothers to talk to about it. We didn't have technology like you have today. So there's so much that's happening where we're taking ownership of how to navigate this time of our lives very uniquely and own it and not be defined by this narrative. We're not broken. We're just going through another phase of life. And I remember when you and I initially had the conversation, you were like, well, I don't know a whole lot about menopause. And you told me your age. And I was like, okay, you're starting the journey. So I imagine that was a little shocking to find out, right?
I'm one of those women who are blissfully unaware. When you're healthy and when you don't have obvious symptoms, sometimes you don't even realize there are changes going on. Yeah. And you might misdiagnose yourself and think, oh, this is just how my body works. I always have muscle tension. I always get fatigued like this. It's probably working on the computer all the time. And you kind of rationalize what you're going through. But I love how you educate women and to point out just different angles when it comes to wellness. And it all goes together. Sometimes it's more biology than psychology. And just looking at it holistically is very important. And I really admire how you put sexy in the forefront of menopause so that it gives a positive outlook so that people get more curious and want to know early on, okay, what are the changes am I experiencing right now? What are the likely changes that are going to happen? And how do I move through it in a beautiful way that I continually feel confident and healthy and strong through all of the changes?
Yeah, that is so beautiful. You use the word bliss a lot, and I know it's in the title of your book, and I don't use the word bliss, but it's under the same umbrella. There's a phrase when we were in Paris, joie de vivre, it's the joy of life. So I always lean into joy, which is similar to bliss. And if you decide how you want to navigate this, it can be blissful, it can be joy. And like you said, you don't focus on those negative aspects. And I'm similar to you. I don't focus on them, but I am really proactive. I try to eat right. I try to stay active. I try to be conscientious about my mindset. I'm very intentional about how I start my day, the circle of people that I'm around, and how I can foster the best life possible. And for me, at this stage of my life, the way I grew up, there was so much suppression of this male dominated society. My dad was a minister. So as a father, he was very strict. So there was nothing about the way I was navigating in my life that I found was freeing. It was very oppressive. So now in this stage of my life, I get to define it. And so, yeah, sexy is a part of it to me because now I can wear the kind of dresses I want to wear. I can show up how I want to show up. I can show off my sexy. And one of the things that had also inspired me was I started looking at women who were much older than me to get an idea of what it can look like for myself. And there are several women that I can name, but one in particular, her name is Ernestine Shepherd, and she is a 86-year-old. I think she's almost like nearing 87, but she is holding the world record for the oldest bodybuilding woman in the Guinness Book of World Records. And this woman, if you look her up on her social media, she has social media, all of these other platforms, and she is in tank tops. She is in midriff crop tops. She is in short pleated skirts like cheerleaders wear. Like, she is not shameful to show off her body as being sexy, but she's worked very hard at it. She eats right, she exercises, she holds an exercise class, she inspires other women. And at that age, and I'm seeing her, she's got beautiful makeup on, she has her nails done, beautiful long hair, and it's gray. And it's just like, that is what I see inspiring me to be the best version of myself and to be sexy as well. So as we're navigating this, it doesn't matter what age you are, you can define what you want this to look like for yourself. And for you as a young lady, you're already setting the foundation for your daughter to see any type of possibility for herself because you're showing the example yourself.
Thank you. And speaking of feeling suppressed while growing up, I think a lot of women can relate to that in many forms. I experienced that as well. I went to an all-girls school and wore a school uniform where the length of the skirt, there's just so many rules that were unnecessary. And as women, as girls, we needed a place where we can explore safely and freely.
Yeah.
To find ourselves, to find our preferences, to find our passions, instead of being told what to do or expected to be a certain way. So not just menopause, but all the journey that we navigate, sometimes it may be a loss or a divorce or single parenting, whatever it may be. Life is not perfect. You understand, you experience all these cracks and all these imperfections and all these disappointments, but to be discouraged or empowered is a choice. So without avoiding the negative parts, really acknowledging the difficult things, but choosing something positive, I think is really, really important for our physical and emotional well-being.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I wanted to ask you is, like, you work with women, health and wellness, like a younger version than what I normally will work, but I think the message is good for all ages, but you focus on your niche and that is your niche. And I remember telling you, I went to your website and looked at it and it's just like, it has like a spiritual lightness to it. It's like whimsical and it really reflects who you are. You're just a woman that has such a delightful aura around her. And I've mentioned that to you before, but it comes
Thank
through
you.
so well just visiting your website. So let's talk a little bit about how your website came together and how you work with women and the impact that you're making in the world.
So my business is the website is called sunshinesoul.com. So the idea of sunshine stayed with me like since from my 20s maybe, and I was going through a lot of rain. I use metaphors a lot because I'm a writer, but when we go through a lot of difficult things, it is hard to sustain hope. But like sunshine, like rain never stays. Sun will always rise in the end. So I always had that end goal in mind and the decision to be happy no matter what I may be going through at the time. So that is the origin of how that was born. But yeah, it's just one of my superpower is I think it's innate joy. No matter what happens on the outside, I have a joy in me and kind of a silly innocence that I always hold precious in my spirit. And I have a kid, so I am playful by nature and just out of necessity as a mom. So part of it is innate, and another part of it is choosing to be happy. And not everybody does that necessarily because it is hard work. And if you were conditioned to be a certain way, that conditioning can be so tight. And to unlearn it, that's a journey. And so it takes grit and also grace. And you never do it alone. So like you, I agree with surrounding yourself with the right environment. And I have wonderful peers around the world. So that's what makes this journey sustainable and fun. Because no matter what you may be going through, there's always somebody going through something similar or something as difficult, perhaps even more. So you always get the perspective that, hey, it's not just me, we're in this together. So we're going to hold hands, we're going to uplift each other and get through this and do some good in the world.
Yeah, and you're doing that on so many levels. So let me ask you, you have a speaking career, you're an author, you're working with women in coaching. So when you think about your future, where are you looking to expand more in your business?
So the main thing is coaching. So when I added the Kintsugi element into the high performance coaching that I've done for years, to me, this is the best one. It makes the most sense because
Okay.
it doesn't avoid looking at the difficult things. I
Okay.
mean, we look at the gold, but we acknowledge the crack. And some people suppress those cracks and be ashamed of it and not be able to talk about it, especially women who are already thriving and achieving great things. But inside, there may be a story that still stays in their heads, and that's why they're performing and perfecting for external validation still at any age, at any level. So my job is to help them find emotional freedom and be liberated, to be
Yes.
as sexy as she wants to be wearing whatever she wants and being whoever she wants to be, instead of always thinking that she should be a certain way and life should be a certain way. So
Right.
that kind of control is very exhausting.
Yeah, it can be. So as you work with clients, I was thinking that you were moving into doing like some retreats or some events, small events for women. I was thinking that we had a conversation around that.
Yes, that is in the long term, not right
Okay.
now, but I
Okay.
hope to.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, possibly we can do something together because that's my vision as well, is to have women in a space that is safe for them to have conversations, to be vulnerable. Because even though you're understanding more and more about menopause, there is such a intimate journey as you're navigating that, and sometimes you don't have safe space to really say truly what's going on in your world. And if you go to a doctor's office, they're on a timer, you got 10 minutes to tell me everything you want. I can give you a prescription and send you on your way. And it can require a deeper level of going inside. And for women, you could have had, traumas that you're navigating through, and they're starting to show up in your relationships. And then you're going through menopause and you think there's something wrong with you. You're like, there's so many aspects of this that you can try to overcome, but you kind of need to be in a space where you can uncover it. And if you're in a safe space with other women who can share what they've been through, then it makes it easier for you to have some sense of understanding, and then you can move forward. I've loved retreats. I've been in retreats since I was very young, because the church environment we were in, it's just like, okay, we'll send the kids off to some Christian camp for a while or some retreat or something. So I got introduced very early, and I remember how it would give me some different ways of thinking about situations because of the people that I was with, or the other adults that were around that were giving you a different perspective than your parents. If you're talking about like a retreat for women that they can open up and share these things, you're really surprised what can come out. And I know me personally, I went to a retreat and it was just women, and they were all women, around my same age. And the shares that came out was so open and so vulnerable. And then we kind of held each other up, and then there's like the crying, the purging. And that's not the way all retreats are. But when you're in a safe space and this comes through, women, we need to heal. We need to open up and let whatever that is that's suppressing us come out, so we can reach to this next space and tap into the sexy side of menopause. So one of the things I want to ask you, as we're talking about your demographic that you work with, let's talk menopause a little bit, because when we were talking initially, you were like, oh, I don't think I'm in the menopause space. But menopause for women, it starts around the 40-ish range. But unfortunately, we're seeing menopause show up earlier and earlier because of the food supply, the medication, things that are disrupting our body's hormonal system. And it's just like, okay, so now we need to look at menopause. So crazy. I came across an article. I'm always reading things about menopause. And there was this girl at 16, had been through a lot of different health situations, and finally got diagnosed that she was in early phases of menopause. So it's a conversation that we need to have at all stages of our life. We need to start bringing our children into it, bringing our sons, our husbands, bring it in the work environment. It's just something that we just cannot keep our head in the sand on. And the more you know, the more you can take control, because you won't be coming out of a doctor's office with medication that's not addressing what's happening with you. So when you talk about menopause, that perimenopause phase is when these hormones start to adjust and shift and change. And that's in your late 40s. And you might not see a change. Everybody's different. Every woman's body's different, so they can go through it totally different. There was a summit that I used to hold. Every quarter I would have, 9 women or so on a panel. We just talk about different things about menopause. And there was this one woman that I had on. She had all sisters in our family, like 5 of them. And one by one, they were noticing that they were going through their menopause journey, but each one had a different experience. One woman was going through it and just like she was having all of these challenges with symptoms. And then another sister was going through it and she was like, mine is very light. It wasn't something so significant. Then the mother had a hysterectomy and hers was brought on really quickly. And then there was one sister like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm fine. So it's different from woman to woman. But until you have these conversations, you don't know what it actually can be like for you until you start having conversations and being in community. So in your case, I would say your menopause journey probably is going to be very light, because you're not going to let something define you, or you can point a finger and say, this is going to change my life and it's going to be so overwhelming, it's going to be difficult for me. I think you would take control of it. And I decided how I wanted to go through my menopause. Some things happen. For me, it was like I noticed my weight had shifted, and it wasn't like, oh my God, there's 20 pounds on the scale. But it's just like I used to be a pretty stable weight all the time. And then I realized like, oh, these pounds are creeping up on the scale. What's happening? I haven't changed anything, But my hormones, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, these are the sex hormones. And usually those are the areas that we can see change. So in your case, you might not see any change. You might go through it seamlessly. The 51 is the age range that we kind of define like this is menopause. The average woman will hit menopause. And menopause is where you go 365 days without a cycle. And that's your what I call the menopause birthday. You are totally gone through this process of childbirth and you're on the other side. And everything to the right of that is postmenopausal, which is where I am. So if you think about that window, we can be in that phase of the menopause journey about 3/4 of our lives. So it's something like as early as possible that you can understand what it's like, what the cycle is, and start doing and making some choices that's going to navigate that easiest for you. I think is the most powerful thing that you can do. So I'm going to ask you, like, did you have any awareness of some of the things that I just shared?
Not yet, again, blissfully unaware, but what I've been thinking as you were speaking and educating on this topic, how we put it aside if we don't have obvious symptoms. And like early 40s, it's a season where in your business, you're very, very busy. You have lots of responsibilities. Your kids still may be young, so you're not quite focusing on optimal self-care necessarily, always putting yourself last, like a lot of women do. And there's just so much on the plate all the time. So understanding the possible symptoms that may occur as the year goes on, I think I do believe it's necessary to take preventative measures, like taking care of your health when you're healthy, not when something goes wrong. So just really listening to your body all the time and asking, okay, what is my body communicating with me lately? How has that shifted over the past months, and what can I do about it? And really gently guide yourself and your body through every season. What I do notice, I take pride in my own level of resilience. So I'm quite strong. I see myself as a strong woman. But I did notice one time when my radiance came at the cost of the nervous system, of like my body was actually taking quite a hit and dealing with chronic stress for decades. So that was something that it woke me up, and it made me realize that, hey, this body has been fighting for me all this time. I need to be there for her. Yes. And really, really get aligned. And we're all a team here, not all the organs and all your past selves when you're 5 or 10 or 20. You've lived this life for a while now, and it's really important at some point to really commit to honoring the temple and choosing wellness. Sometimes we don't because we're just too busy or stressed out, and we're just hanging by a thread sometimes. But when you have those symptoms, when you have those issues, then it becomes a big problem. So really taking care of yourself now while you're healthy, I do believe in that.
That's very well said. So let me ask you, when you realized that your body was under a lot of stress, was this something that you had to be diagnosed for, or were you intuitive enough to know, like, hey, my body is giving me signs that something is off? Were you aware of that, or did somebody have to bring it to your attention? Because that's the way menopause is sometimes with women. They don't know that they're in menopause. They're just like, something's wrong, but I don't know what it is. And they kind of ignore it and then end up in the doctor's office. And sometimes they're like, yeah, it's menopause, or like, no, it's something else. So I was interested in how you found out.
For me, stress often shows up in my skin. So when I have like rashes, I've been having rashes since in my teens, and there's a lot of trauma that happened around that time. But when it's a chronic condition, you kind of tell yourself, this is my skin type, this is my body type, and not really getting to the root of the issue. So I'm lucky that my skin communicates with me very directly and sometimes ruthlessly. So I do need to deal with it. And when I feel there's a certain level of inflammation going on, then I choose to take it slow and do more of gentle exercise like yoga instead of just grinding through, and taking mental notes and catching myself when I've been pushing too hard to get this thing done or just spinning too much and telling myself to slow down. Even if I want to go at full speed, sometimes the body says, please pay attention.
Yeah.
Hold on a minute, slow down, take a breath, and then course correct.
Wow. You're a very wise woman. You're a very wise woman, I must say. So I wonder if part of it is the Japanese culture. Were you able to use holistic measures for the entire aspect of getting the stress lowered, or did you have to bring in medication to help that? Or kind of share that with me, because some women might be hearing your story and resonate and want to know, like, what does she do exactly?
Well, one of the benefits of living most of my life in Japan is that we eat relatively healthy. So vegetables and fiber and all the nutrients that are healthy for your longevity, we naturally have them. And I would say less processed food that's around. I mean, they're around, but you can choose to eat healthy if you want to. And also, one element that helps a lot is that we are very in tune with nature. So there is a term called forest bathing. I'm
Yes.
sure many of the people know. But in the mountains, we don't climb the mountains. We don't get to the peak to conquer anything. It's about being connected with nature and surrendering to the
Right.
beauty and the serenity of the nature that's already around. So we have that aesthetics and mentality of that harmony. So I do believe that that kind of philosophy helps the harmony inside the body as well.
Yes. That's wonderful. So did you have any teachings about keeping your body in harmony, like with your mom or grandmother, or that's something that's been intuitive for you?
It's just a diet. The nutrition was pretty good and solid, but I did live in the States for a while as well, so I know the difference. And yeah, nutrition is a big one. And also for women who carry a lot, lowering stress is very, very important. So not just what you eat and how you move your body, but how do you handle stress? Do you talk about it with friends enough? What kind of friends do you have? So, for example, I have a wide range of beautiful relationships, which I'm very grateful for. Some are growth oriented, like peers and a mastermind. Some they're just girlfriends you go out to have a cocktail with, and you talk about men and you talk about all these silly things that you can never say in a podcast, and just laughing. No matter what you're going through, just laugh it out and hug it out with your girlfriends. Those friends are necessary as well. And as a mom, I have my mom friends. So just a well-rounded group and friendships of different types helps a lot, because when you only have like peers and you're striving together, the default is you perform in
Right.
front of them and you feel like you need to keep up and you need to show up as your best all the time. And I'm a high performance coach, but I think it's also wonderful to just be ordinary, and I call it the courage to be ordinary and extraordinary at the same time. So having that humility to go, okay, I'm pretty average in this area and it's okay.
Yeah.
And life didn't work out in this area. This had a lot of cracks and it's okay. I'll just pour some gold again.
Yeah. That is so beautiful. I love that. So do you find most of the women in your circle, young women in your circle, are they of similar mindsets that you have because of the culture, or is it you're finding that they're researching to try to find what they need to do to be healthy so they can navigate this journey as powerfully as possible? Like I'm interested about how your demographics is looking at this in general, because I'm not around a lot of women who are in the 40s, and that's why I like to go to women's events, because I get to be around women of different ages, and I'm just always so amazed at how the younger generation are using technology to help them navigate this journey.
Yes, I believe that the younger generation gets educated much more these days, which is amazing. Um, But in my country, for example, when it comes to health, women in their 40s, let me find the right words. Well, culturally, we are told to be great moms, and we're not really exactly told to be yourself or take care of you and find your confidence, find your sexy
Yeah.
in your 40s and 50s and beyond. We do experience a kind of cultural limitation of what is expected as a woman in your 40s, or like what is expected as a mom in general. A lot of women lose their individuality after they become a mom. So I would hear stories from mom friends, things like, I don't know what kind of music I like anymore. I've been listening to kiddie shows all the time and I'm happy I left my kid, but I don't know me anymore. So there's a disconnect that can happen. So reconnecting with yourself in in all of the ways that are important,
Yeah.
physically as well, but spiritually, like reconnecting to your passion, that kind of connection and alignment could go a long way.
That's very interesting. Motherhood is so far removed from me. I can't remember all of it. It's a totally different type of motherhood compared to what we have to utilize us on this journey as parents and mothers. When I was with my children, it was like I never had enough time because what the kids' needs were much more prominent and a priority than mine was. I didn't totally lose myself, but I do realize my life today, I am 100% all in on what I need to do for myself to be on the sexy side of menopause. So I imagine today with technology and your children being in this space where everything is technical, and then women who are still giving, like, how do you find that balance? Because it is depleting to try to be healthy as a mom when you want your child to have the very best, but we still have to take care of ourselves as women because you have a long journey as we're looking at health and wellness going into the sexy side of menopause. So I'm glad
Mhm.
that you shared, some of the things that you have challenges in the women that are in your circle as new moms, but don't lose sight of you're a woman and you need to fill your cup up as well, because this will also impact the menopause journey. Because a lot of women that I had talked to, they had given to the point where they're literally passing out sometimes because they're in the offices of doctors where they have totally given and there's nothing left of them. And if we don't take care of ourselves and you leave it to the medical industry to take care of you, they're going to give you things that's not really best for finding that balance, not for going inside and doing things in a natural, holistic way. But you just have to be cognizant if you're out of balance and bringing in the stress.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's similar to a simple thing as drinking water. They say that if you only drink water when you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated. So when it comes to feeling depleted, just the constant giving and giving, I believe that women really need to get good at receiving all the goodness that
I
she
agree.
wholeheartedly deserves. And something simple like scheduling a massage, and because if it's not on the calendar, self-care is, I don't think it's going to happen, that kind of pampering that you don't allow yourself. But if it's on the calendar and you have an appointment, then you go, and that's what I did recently. And if it weren't on the calendar, I wouldn't have gone. So it was like a Valentine's Day gift to myself, a nice cocoa massage. But I was very busy, so I wouldn't have gone.
Yeah.
But I committed to self care, so that happened.
I think that's a good takeaway, ladies. Put it on the calendar. Make yourself a priority because you have to give yourself as much as you give to others. And for me, I have been aware of self care, but I do have a calendar. I like my calendar on Mondays is nothing but self-care. I do not schedule any appointments for anyone on Mondays. That's my self-care day. And it kind of can move around what I'll do on those self-care days, but I know it's just for me. And I know that that's not practical for somebody who's just up and coming with a family. You know, your life is spread very thin. But if you don't find something to make a priority for your self-care, then when you get much older, you'll find that it's going to be much more difficult to find that balance. And for me, I am always in nature, grounding, like you said, forest bathing. I am the DC metro area, so we have the Potomac, and I am always somewhere near the water. I just absolutely love it. We're in the spring season now. This is my tulips, and I just find I feel so at peace. I feel like I'm in this place of balance and zen. So I totally would encourage ladies, take Masako's suggestion, put it on your list for your self-care, whatever that may be. So, Masako, I cannot believe our time is winding down. Your wisdom, honey, is just so absolutely amazing. I'm just so grateful that you're in the space of health and wellness, helping women, because they're going to be so much better off as they're navigating this journey of menopause when they get to their 51 age-ish. I know that seems like forever away, but it is there.
It's coming.
And it's a blessing to get there. It's really unfortunate that some women feel like this is not something that they want to go through, that it's like really awful and terrible. But I think if you make the decision of how you want to navigate it, be proactive, educate yourself about the process, be in community, go to see your doctor, talk to other people who have gone through it, and just make the best decision for you. And as Masako says, she's working with women who are on the younger age for just starting that menopause, perimenopause journey. And I'm in the postmenopausal phase, and I can tell you how to get that sexy side going. So it's such a pleasure to have you here. Can you let everybody know how they can find your book, your website, anything that you have that they can connect with you, newsletters? Just let us know how we can stay connected with you.
Yes, so my website is sunshinesoul.com. So all the information that you may need will be there. The books are there, and the socials, it's just my name, Masako Toyama. You can find me on Facebook. And yeah, all the informations are on the website, so I would go there.
Perfect. I encourage you to follow Masako. She has such a joy about her. It's like you find the right people, bring them into your circle, and don't let them go. I was like, I have to stay with you, and I'm so glad we've connected again. And I'm sure they're going to find you on the stage again, speaking some marvelous location about the business of bliss. So again, thank you for being here, ladies. We are going to conclude this episode of The Sexy Side of Menopause. I'm Beverly Whitlow, your host. I'm a health and wellness coach for women who are going through the menopause journey. And I help women just like you to break through the stigma and lean into a powerful next level life. So we will encourage you to show up for the next episode and learn more about this journey. And if I can help you in any way, please reach out to us. Again, Masako, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right, ladies, we'll see you next time. Thank you for being here.